Hi there and welcome to your ACCA AA FI Learn materials. This short video is going to set out where you can find the materials and what to expect. Very important to listen to so that you feel during your course you know how to access the reference materials that your tutor might be referring to and the videos, etc. So this is an introduction. We're in the Getting Started tab in FI Learn. So you've obviously managed to log on to FI Learn, so that's great. And within the FI Learn tab, you can see obviously the video is there. And then if you scroll down, some additional resources are there as well. So there's a section on the course resources and how to use them. And you can see there's a little PDF document underneath there saying course welcome. So this is a 2-page document worth taking a look at before you start your course. And that's going to tell you things like the question bank is split into 2 parts, for example. And the first part is used on the tuition course and the second part is used on the revision course. And it will also tell you things like question practice is key to passing this AA exam. Gives you some background on the fact you have objective test questions, which are your multiple choice questions, as well as those long form written questions. And actually, people are often surprised to hear that it's the objective test questions that often are the reason why people fail this exam. So the objective tests have multiple choice options and they're all or nothing. So for example, if it's select 3 that are correct, if you only manage to select 2, unfortunately, you lose the entire mark. So do watch out for that and do make sure you're honing your skills on objective tests and reading those questions carefully. So worth looking at that course welcome document. It's only a couple of pages. Below that, you can see we've got the ACCA self-check quizzes. Now, this is a recap of your current knowledge so far, which you will already gain through your business and technology module. If you are feeling a little bit rusty on business and technology, or perhaps you're exempt from the exam, it's definitely worth doing this quiz and finding out where you are in terms of how much you can remember. And it's also a really good way of recapping your knowledge. So strongly recommend doing this before you start the course or at the start of a course so you can build on that knowledge. If you need to go back to the resources for business and technology, you can see just below that there's a little link that will take you to those resources. I wouldn't suggest spending a lot of time. Use it as a recap rather than redoing everything. Further down, you can see we've got practical experience requirements and performance objectives. This shows you how the ACCA AA module links into the entire qualification. Within ACCA, there are 5 objectives and you could review them. Again, this is just a 1-page, well, it's half a page document actually. So you could just have a look and say, what objectives am I actually achieving by completing this module? Just a nice little reference there if you wanted to have a look. Okay, so that's all the getting started materials. Let's have a look at what else is in FI Learn. So FI Learn is invaluable to your learning and it's broken down by chapter. At the moment we're in getting started, but let's have a look at chapter 1. So there are 5 chapters within your course and chapter 1 is on the audit framework and regulation. So you can see at the top there are 6 objectives within this chapter. They may not mean much to you before you've completed the chapter, so I would use the objectives as a learning tool at the end to have a look and think, have I learnt that? Once you've covered the material with your tutor, once you've had a go at a few questions, go back to those objectives and feel like, have I learnt that? If you haven't, you can then dip into videos and make sure your knowledge is up to scratch there. Rolling down, you can see the watch and learn section. Now this has videos recorded by your first intuition tutors and sometimes hearing another voice say it is really useful, but do bear in mind this will just be the same notes that are covered in your classes, so you shouldn't be aiming to listen to every lecture. Instead, if there was a lecture perhaps you missed or perhaps you did not quite understand in class, you could dip into that. For example, if you're unsure what audit committees were, you could think, well, I didn't really understand that in class with my tutor. You could dip into lecture 6 and watch that. It's only 7 minutes long, but you shouldn't be planning to watch every single one. Use them as an as-needed basis. Trying to make sure you're learning in the most efficient way possible. Doing the question practice is going to help you with that and using videos as needed. Scrolling down, you can see we've got a have a go section. Now, chapter 1, you can see it says question bank, 20 questions. These are the same questions that are in the question bank that's been distributed to you. So you may well have a hard paper copy of this question bank, and they're also available in our reference resources section, which we'll go to in a minute. However, really quite nice to do them online. So if you wanted to do them online, you've got the opportunity to do that there, but they are the same questions. There's also recommendations for the Section B style questions, which are those written questions. Section A questions, those are the multi-choice objective test questions. Section B are the written form questions. And you can see here it's given the example of question 1 on Stark as something you should be practicing. So that's chapter 1, and it's the same for all the other chapters as well. So 5 chapters, you'll be able to see those videos as well as the question bank questions. Okay. Finally, moving on, we will have a look at the reference resources. So within reference resources, you have the course notes. Again, you may have a hard copy of those. These are the first intuition course notes that we'll be going through in class, and also the ones used in the first intuition videos. There's also an update sheet for 2023-2024. Now, this is relevant if you have already sat this exam and you're doing it as a resit, because your notes may be the old version of the course notes. And this update sheet just tells you what's changed between the notes you used previously and the current notes. If this is your first time sitting the exam, you may not need to look at that update sheet. Then you've got the question bank. So you'll be using that in class, and there'll be questions set for home study from that question bank. Below that, you've got the study text. This is for additional reading, and this is the ACCA official study text. It's a reference only. It's not a requirement to read this to pass the exam, but if you were going through the first intuition course notes and there was an area you wanted to know more about, you could dip into that study text. And just to give you some comfort that the course notes are aligned with the study text, there's a document below comparing the two. Again, just a little short 2-pager there if you wanted to have a look. Again, we've got the practical experience requirements and objectives there. This is the same document we saw in the Getting Started tab. Really useful video here, the examiner's verbs explained. Often students struggle with how to interpret the written questions. They use words like describe, explain. What do we really mean by those words in the context of this exam? So that video there is well worth watching before you sit your mock exam. And finally, once you've had your mock exam marked, there's a marker abbreviation there. So if you see an abbreviation in your mock exam, you can check what it means in that short document there. The final tab we're going to look at together is the tuition exam. Your tutor will let you know the submission deadline for completing the tuition exam, and this will be done after your tuition course. If you do not submit your tuition exam before the deadline, it won't get marked and you'll be relying on self-marking it yourself. So that's a really valuable resource we offer, is the marking of the exam. So do make sure you submit it on time and get maximum benefit from it. Really important to complete the tuition exam. No one ever feels ready to complete it, but it's such a valuable learning tool. And we have statistics that prove that people who sit the tuition exam not necessarily pass it, but who sit it are more likely to pass the final exam. So please do give that a go within the deadline. As soon as you submit your tuition exam, the debrief and the solutions will be sent to you on FI Learn, and it will be marked shortly afterwards. And very important to learn from the experience and spend sufficient time going through that marking and the solutions to see where you could have got extra marks. Okay, that concludes our short session on the ACCA Audit and Assurance Introduction. Wishing you all the best for the course, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.